Building in part from queer theory and trans studies, they say, queer and trans pedagogy seek to actively destabilize. Seek to actively destabilize the normative function of schooling through transformative education, like transformative SCL. But they also actively seek to destabilize, period. Not just the normative function of schooling, but your children. That's what Hannah Dyer said. The goal of queer education is not to create stable LGBTQ identities, she said, but to make sure they stay fluid, not to make stable identities, but destabilized identities. No big deal, it's just your kids. This is a fundamentally different orientation than movements towards the inclusion or assimilation of LGBT people. It's not what you think. It's not what they're lying on television and telling you. It's not what you think. It's not just about fun. It's not also, you'll hear, you just don't want people to accept gay people. It has nothing to do with gay acceptance. They just said so. This is a fundamentally different orientation than movements toward the inclusion or assimilation of LGBT people into existing structures of school and society. They don't want LGBT people to be included and assimilated into existing structures of school and society. They want them to be queer, political orientation to disrupt normalcy. They just said that. This is the same where Freire says that in The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, that the goal of educating is to teach the people that they're dependent, but not to teach them how to take responsibility to climb out of their dependency, because then they would escape and just integrate and reproduce the system that oppresses. No, you have to teach them to be in solidarity of marginalization to overthrow the existing system, just like Marx. This is a fundamentally different orientation than movements toward the inclusion or assimilation of LGBT people into the existing structures of school and society. Fundamentally different. It's not about gay acceptance. It was never about gay acceptance. There was a gay acceptance movement, a gay civil rights movement. It's already been referenced in this paper. And the queer agenda has always been separate from it. And we need to be clear. We need to understand the differences. We need to understand how the queer agenda has used the LGBT civil rights movement and is using the people as human shields. And they will say so later in this paper that they're doing so. But that it's not doing that. It's not a civil rights movement. It is a fundamentally different orientation than, say, civil rights movements toward the inclusion or assimilation of LGBT people into the existing structures of school and society. They don't want gay acceptance. They don't want gay equality. They want agitated, destabilized queer activists living queerly. And it's just your kids, using Drag Queen Story Hour to do it as a grooming mechanism in schools, using the Freire and Groomer schools pedagogy with the drag queen as the generative program.